Hey guys, it's Charge and Hainer present Zoom the TBT. Tonight we got Nick Isabella, GM of Power the Paw, the Clemson alumni team. Nick, what's up?
Hainer, Charge. It's been a busy day, awesome day, and we're ready to get it rolling. So thanks for having me, and let's get to it.
Yeah, no, thanks for jumping on us. A busy day, understatement. So obviously we're taping, what is this, Wednesday the 27th. And so we'll talk about some TBT breaking news towards the end of our time with Nick. But before we get into all that fun stuff of the day, let's just talk about you and your team a little bit. Obviously heading up the Clemson alumni team, Power to Paw. So how did you get involved in TBT and ultimately being the GM of Clemson?
Yeah, absolutely. So myself and two of my buddies, Brian Hurley and Chris Hurley, we started a team called HBC back in 2015. We had HBC in 2015, 2016, and 2017. And then in 2018, we partnered up with Kyle Hines and formed HBC Sicklerville. That was my last year as part of HBC. They dismantled, and then I started up the Clemson alumni team, Power of the Paw. So this will be our second year entering into the tournament, and we have some serious roster upgrades.
Yeah, could you elaborate a little bit on those roster upgrades, actually?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have four guys that played on our Sweet 16 team back in 2017 and 2018. Marquise Reed, he was a TBT killer last year. Gabe DeVoe, another TBT killer. Dante Grantham, who was actually the leading scorer on that team that year, averaging 15 a game before he got injured at Notre Dame. And also Elijah Thomas, who's a monster in the paint. He's 6'9", 245, lefty, soft touch, quick feet, and can run the floor. And then we also added Tevin Mack. He's a recent graduate from Clemson. He had over 10 double-doubles this year. I think he had 9 or 10 20-point games as well. And so as far as those Clemson guys are concerned, like A-plus ads there. We have two guys returning as well. KJ James, it's one of my best buddies from Charleston, South Carolina. And then Lou Stallworth, he played at the Citadel. He was a 25-5-5 guy in college and just finished his first year in pro overseas this year. I think he averaged around 17 or 18 a game.
That's a lot.
So Lou brings back experience. KJ brings back experience. They understand what TBT is about. And then we also added Trey Phils. He's the son of late and former great Bobby Phils, who used to play for the Charlotte Hornets. And then we also added another alumni, Ty Hudson. He played 2 years at Clemson and then transferred to Jacksonville State. And then another recruit is Jakeenan Gant. Jakeenan was the two-time Defensive Player of the Year at Louisiana, which is formerly Louisiana Lafayette. He spent a little time with the Pacers this year and ended up and finished the season with Fort Wayne Mad Ants. The one good thing about our team, guys, is that at one point in their career, whether it was travel ball, college, whatnot, all these guys have played together. And, as a 6-year participant of TBT, chemistry is crucial. Games are tight throughout the whole. And then especially getting into the Elam ending, you really have to trust each other. And we feel as though not only with the strength of our roster, but the chemistry, we're going to be competing for a title this year. Obviously, we want to take it one game at a time. But when all said and done, we're going to be right there.
Yeah, no, your roster is looking amazing this year, and I know the TBT panel had you guys as one of the most improved teams year over year, and obviously you just gave us a good layout of why that is. Now, I do have one question about one player that you're missing, and you cannot fact check me here, but statistically speaking, teams with Canton Charge alumni are 50% more likely to win the TBT. Okay, you saw William Buford with
You're a fucking homer, Charge.
Where's Teron Blossom game in here? Have you guys ever reached out to him, and has he ever showed any interest in participating in TBT?
So everyone is well aware of TBT, but as we all know, guys have other commitments, especially throughout the summer. And this year, it's easy from an outside perspective. I'm not saying you guys are an outside perspective. Obviously, you guys are locked in, but everyone can't make it, even though not many people are. No one's playing in games right now. Guys have things to do. So, we did reach out to JB. We reached out to Devin Booker. We reached out to Casey Rivers. We reached out to Dre Grant again. He played with us last year, and his brother Jarian. We reached out to Landry Noko, who's actually in Germany playing with Alba Berlin. And they're going to finish out their season throughout June.
Yeah, I was wondering, are you guys going to maybe add Trevor Lawrence? I know he plays a lot of pickup basketball, and I remember hearing he doesn't really like to have screens against him.
He can – I'll tell you what. Clemson in general, intramurals is cutthroat. It is cutthroat, and I'll tell you what, Trevor can play. Dabo's got game. I mean, back when I was in school, I graduated 2012, guys like Miguel Chavis, Jamie Harper, Jarvis Jenkins. I mean, all these football guys were unbelievable on the basketball court. But no, we'll let Trevor just concentrate and win a national championship this year for football.
Now, to be clear, though, was he mad at the wrong person on that little clip that went viral? Because the reality is, like, when you play basketball, your teammates call the screens. They don't call a screen. That's your teammate, right?
I'm so dialed into what Power of the Paw has going on. I'll let Trevor speak to anything in regards to that. No comment.
That's diplomatic. I appreciate that.
All right. Yeah, I just want to back up just one step. Obviously, we talked about your team, and Gid DeVoe back and Reed back was just absolutely huge for your team. They led your team statistically last TBT. So talking about last year, two really close games. Obviously, that win versus Team 23, and then lost to CP3. So two really tough games, very close games. So based on last year, what did you learn from last year? And speaking to your roster, did you fill the gaps that you think you had to go further into TBT this year?
Yeah, absolutely. So coming into the tournament, I knew we had a tough matchup with Team 23. Mike has done a good job for 5 or 6 years entering a team. They had a lot of firepower as well. We knew we had to come out and jump on them immediately. And I mean, Gabe and Keese went off. Keese went after Frank Gaines and absolutely tortured him the whole game. I think Keese went off for 31. It's an unbelievable performance. I think we kind of surprised Team 23. They probably tried to size up our roster, and we knew we had dogs, but we were a little short-staffed, I guess, in a way of words. So we definitely made the proper adjustments to come in and really compete with anyone who they throw at us first round. I thought we played a great game, the first game overall. It was an absolute battle. Second game versus CP3, we're up a point going into the fourth quarter. I think it was the Baldwin kid or another shooter they had came down, hit 3 threes in a row. Defending in transition is one of the biggest things that you have to do to win in TBT. If you can stop the other team in transition, put the ball in the hole, you're going to be right in every game. We came up short. I think we lost by 3 or 5 to CP3, but, we didn't have the players that we have this year to, guard a Kennedy Meeks or to guard multiple players at that position.
Mm-hmm.
We're really versatile, 1 through 10. We got guys that want to lock up. We got guys that are hungry. We're going to pick up full court. And we can also turn it up on the offensive end as well.
You're talking a little bit about how you have a hungry team, and Clemson's well known in basketball circles as being a physical team. What can we expect style of play-wise from Power of the Paw? Like, what are you guys looking to run? What are you guys looking to have for schemes? Like, what is your offensive, defensive sort of philosophy on some level, if you can get into that?
Yeah, absolutely. So you were referring to the Clemson grit, and that's what Coach Burnell has come up with, and we're going to be sticking to that. And all the guys, I mean, we're legitimately foaming at the mouth right now, ready to play. We're going to be starting up training camp in the next week and a half or 2 weeks, getting our quarantine thing straight, and we're going to be ready to get out there and compete. As far as style of play, you have to get stops. I talked about getting stops in transition. Myself and the head coach, Brian Judsky, that's what we do. We watch TBT games and we see, okay, who's been successful in the past? What have they done? We try to implement that in our system. Now, on the offensive side, we have a few wrinkles that we're going to put in. We have a few things that the guys are familiar with that we're going to run as well. But essentially, you got to go with the hot hand. So throughout training camp, we're really going to have the guys compete and see who's going to rise to the top, and the cream always does.
Yeah, no, I'm excited about the team this year. Like I said, we already mentioned returners, a lot of youth, a lot of defense, some rim protectors, and sounds like a good philosophy heading into TBT 2020. So So the big announcement today, which we referenced earlier, the TBT announced today that they're going to 24 teams in a single site. So what were your initial thoughts when you saw that tweet this morning? Obviously, that came out early this morning.
That's not enough teams.
Yeah. I'm doing my day job, and my phone starts blowing up. I'm like, oh, okay. Work's got to take a backseat for a minute here. But what were your initial thoughts when you heard that?
I mean, I'll tell you what, John, Dan, Jake, the whole TBT staff, this is an awesome opportunity for them. And they're great people, and honestly, they deserve this. And for them to put in as much money and research and resources into making this happen, I mean, this is unbelievable. This is a game changer for the whole basketball community throughout the whole world. So those guys deserve all the credit, and I think everyone who's going to be a part of this really needs to have their I's dotted and their T's crossed. Let's make this, special this summer. I think there's going to be a lot of eyeballs all over the place on the team. So people they should be ready to go. I know we're chomping at the bit down here.
Yeah, and that makes sense too, because there's going to be sort of this wrinkle of when so many eyeballs are watching this tournament. We all know and love, and it's going to be a real moment of truth that TBT can really become mainstream. So there's a huge opportunity for not just the culture of TBT and the sort of brand, but also the teams in there. Like a lot of teams are going to have no one else to look at. So a lot of teams are looking to get that bigger Euro contract or that NBA, G League, or 10-day look, are going to have a much more powerful platform. Has the COVID crisis helped your recruiting because of that?
I would say yes and no. Throughout my experience, the first couple of years, people were still trying to figure out TBT. People wanted to see if it was, legitimate or not. We had the HBC rosters. I mean, if you guys look back, and I know you spoke to one of my best buddies, Tyron Johnson, a couple weeks ago, we had some high-level teams. We're taking overseas elite right down to the wire, losing by a shot or two. Have EuroLeague players. We lucked out and we had 2 first-round draft picks from 2005 and 2006. Our teams, guys want to play, but things have to align. And I think you hit it on the head with overseas opportunities kind of being slim next year. I think a lot of these guys are using this as another business opportunity to really help out their agents, provide value to the teams that they're going to be connecting with. Hopefully there's a season next year overseas and whatnot, but I feel as though the guys who aren't playing in this are going to be at a disadvantage.
Yeah, so going on a little bit more about the announcements today, obviously the single site 24 teams was big news. And then the other piece, which is the quarantine and the testing. So they laid out a few of the steps that they're going to do from a safety perspective. And you mentioned Dan and John and the guys over at TBT. Hats off to those guys for, putting safety first. I think anybody could rush into something, but it was really thought out and has a lot of good layers in there. However, with those layers, it could get difficult to get the buy-in from some of the teams and some of the players. And so you already mentioned you have a training camp planned, and I'm assuming you've already talked to your players about what the expectations are going to be. So how do you see your team meeting the expectations from a health and safety standpoint, and how do you think that's going to impact other teams?
I know with us, we all live within a 2-hour radius of each other. So we're all down here in the Southeast, which is a huge value add. And based on whatever location they do pick to have the venue, we're hopping a skip away regardless. With other teams, I really can't talk to what they have going on. But I did have a question for you guys. They said in the article today that there's going to be potentially 50 people invited to attend the game, I guess. We got to get you guys out there to have there's something. If you guys can get away from work, I don't know what the setup is going to be or whatever, but I feel as though you guys need to have your own booth and be communicating with players in the team and almost having an open mic type thing.
That's a wonderful idea, and definitely we can do that. I'm self-employed, so literally if I can get in as press, it's my plan to come if I can. Absolutely.
That would be huge.
Yeah, I had not heard that there's going to be a limited spot there. So Dan, John, Josh, let's get the hookup going. Yeah, I'm fortunate enough to work from home anyway. So with this COVID situation, everybody's cooped up, working from home. That's kind of my life as it is anyhow. So, yeah, I'm going to put you in charge of that plug, Nick, and we'll work the guys to make it happen. So let's do it.
I guess we have to move them up 2 seed lines. It's definitely the best thank you we ever gotten in one of these interviews. So looking at this though, real quick, and plus Charge works from home because look at his charming face. Can you imagine being deprived of that in a workplace? Just sad. I tell you. So what are the interesting challenges? Because Clemson, with a rich fan base and a wonderful football history, is it trouble? Is it infuriating on some level? Where I joked about it last time about you guys basically being a football school. Is that a perception you guys battle against as an alumni base? Is that it's always about 3-pointers aren't worth a touchdown? There's no 7 points. Is that something you guys are struggling about a little bit?
No, not at all. We use it to our advantage. With the football brand and the Clemson brand being the most, with Clemson's brand being the most recognized in all of college sports, it's a huge value add to the basketball program.
Absolutely.
So why not, whatever everyone wants to make about the football program, there's a spotlight on Clemson. So use that to your advantage. I thought, the guys had some really quality wins this year in college basketball. Beating Duke, when they were top 10, beating Louisville, beating Florida State when they were 4 in the country, beating UNC on the road, or Chapel Hill, I call it, on the road. Those are quality wins. And then we're going to be taking a guy like Tevin Mack, who's borderline potential NBA, putting him out there and we're going to show the world what this kid can do. This kid can go. He's fresh off the team. But no, as far as the football school, basketball thing, whatever, everyone's going to have their own perception. We're a Clemson family. That's what we like to call each other. So Dabo's a huge supporter of Coach B, and Coach B is a huge supporter of Dabo, and that's just how it goes.
So going back to the bracket of 24, so obviously you're a student of the game, talking about a lot of your experience with Sicklerville. We see in the background there you got the Powered Upon the TV, and we're watching some games from last year before jumping on today. So how do you think you guys fit into the field of 24? Obviously, when it's 32 or 64, and some of the numbers that were thrown around, really easy to say, hey, we're all right, we're going to do all right. You guys still feel pretty safe, and what supports that?
Sure. We feel very confident with what we have going on. Brian Jutsky and I his wife probably hates me. I'm calling him, 3, 4, 5 times a day, and he's doing the same with me. We're completely locked in. Our players are foaming at the mouth. We're ready to go, chomping at the bit. As far as everyone else, we're not going to, worry about that. When I was with HBC, we got caught with our pants down and lost to the St. Louis alumni team out in Bradley a few years ago, trying to prepare for the next game and not taking advantage of the opportunity and the competition that was at hand. So wherever we do end up, we're going to be ready. We can only control what we're going to control, and that's what we're preparing right now, as if we've already made it, and we're going to be, spotting up that first game.
I can't believe you slept on a St. Louis – the Billikens? You slept on a Billikens team?
I'll tell you what, honest to God, we were sizing up the roster, and we were like, all right, we got a guy who's going to, crush Jordair Jet, Kwame Mitchell. We were going right down the line. We were like, we might win by 30, and they ended up beating us. We were down like 18 at the time. It was embarrassing, and then we cut it to like 3. But that's just how TBT goes. It's a beautiful thing. You have to show up to play, and you really have to make sure that that roster has chemistry with some players that can go as well.
So I went to college in St. Louis. I'm a WashU grad, and my girlfriend's first major gift to me, we've been together for a long time, was tickets to a St. Louis-Louisville game. She's like, he likes college basketball, and I'm a Memphis fan, so that's back when we were all in CUSA. And she's like, oh, Louisville's a good team. He'll behave himself. We were sitting 10 rows behind Denny Crum. We've been dating for 3 months, and I basically spent all 40 minutes yelling at Denny Crum like a psychopath. The fact we're still together is shocking to me. She must have said, like, what the fuck have I done? But we're talking about the 24 teams, and we think Power of Paw definitely has a great chance getting in, even at 24. But, like, look, people watch this. Like, appeal directly. Why does the tournament need Power of the Paw?
The Clemson brand in general. Like I said, it's the most recognized brand amongst all of college sports. When people see that paw, they know exactly what it is. There's no hesitation at all. You can't get it confused with any school. The basketball team is competing at a high level this year. No one wanted to see them on their schedule. And obviously the football team continues to do what they're doing. We kind of have a treat for you guys later in the week, and we're going to be releasing our last booster. So I'm not going to say who it is, but he's really passionate, about our university and about what we have going on with our team. And he was completely locked into both of our games last year as well. And then, Brian Judsky, our head coach, he has over 20 years of experience coaching at the collegiate level. I have my own player development business. I'm completely locked into the game. Love it. Basketball junkie. Can't keep me away. And this is my 6th straight summer potentially getting into the tournament. Love this thing. This is what I eat, sleep, breathe, everything. And we have the roster to compete this year. And this is actually the first year that I can say that we're going to go in there and do a great job, right off the rip. And even kind of dating back to the Sicklerville team, we all know that team was picked to win it that year. I wasn't confident, about our chemistry coming into the tournament. And our team is talking. We talk every day on a group text. These guys, they're ready to get out there. And we're ready to represent our university the way it should and continue to keep that partnership going with TBT and represent TBT as the organization, the fine organization that they are.
I'm gonna end up having nightmares about that Sicklerville thing again. I was one of those guys so high on it, and I got Sicklerville. It was just heartbreaking, but hey, it is what it is. And it sounds like a lot of good lessons taken away from there, which is the important part. And obviously in a really good place for your team today and the Power to Paw team. So before we get to closing, we like to, especially you with rich experience going 6 years now with the TBT. So what's been your favorite TBT moment or two, whether it's Sicklerville or Clemson and or on the court, off the court? What are some of the things that TBT stick out to you and that you'll remember forever?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's a world-class organization, TBT, and it's the best tournament in the world, best open tournament in the world. And they originally started this thing to let anyone who could formulate a team get in. If you met the criteria, you could be an average Joe and get into this thing. I thought that was beautiful. The tournament is continuing to progress every single year, and it's been a treat to not only be a part of it, but to watch the TBT guys have success. Guys like John and Dan and Jake, they love the game, absolutely love the game. So I think it's a treat to see, how well they're doing. And that's inspiring as well. Probably my favorite memory was probably last year, beating Team 23, leaving HBC Sicklerville with, I think we had 8 EuroLeague guys, 2 NBA first-round draft picks. I mean, we had a roster full of high-level talent. And saying, you want to know what? I'm going to go do my own thing. With all due respect, I really like Kyle Hine. I love Ty. I love all those guys. Really good dudes. But it was time for me to take my talent somewhere else and to start up Power the Paw and do it for Clemson University. I'm always going to games, whether it's football or basketball. Love my school and felt as though that there was no other person better to run an organization like Power the Paw than myself. So it was awesome to get that first W last year. And just to hear the Clemson family roar, because people were on the fence a little bit. They didn't know what was going on, and now they're completely locked in. I know you guys have been following our Twitter. I think Pete Jonas, he's a local kid out of Charleston, friend of mine. He's doing a phenomenal job putting out content, showing you guys how many impressions we've had during roster reveal week. Coming up with phenomenal graphics. I mean, we have the pieces, and this thing is growing. So continue to be patient with us, but also understand that we're just not going to be happy with getting in this year.
Right.
We know we're going to compete for the whole thing, and we love to have that opportunity.
And that sounds like a really great place to close us on that note. A thoughtful but yet still foaming at the mouth, as he says, Nick Isabella, the GM of Power for the Paw. Thanks for being on tonight, Nick.
Guys, appreciate it. Thanks a lot. And, I hope to see you out there wherever the venue is. So I think
we'll see you then.
I don't know if we need to make a call to John or Dan or whoever.
Make it happen. Make it happen, Nick. We're counting on you.
Guys, thank you so much for having me, though, in all seriousness. And even if we don't meet up this summer, I think you guys are doing a great job, and I'd like to continue to see you guys do this throughout the whole year and for years to come.
That's actually the plan, not just that.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
See you, Nick.
Absolutely. Take care, guys. Enjoy your night.
Appreciate it.
All right. Bye-bye.